Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Don't go anywhere. Arsenal have just drawn to Liverpool 2-2 at the Emirates in what you would call a bit of a salty fashion. Yeah. But let's talk about it anyways, man. But before we get into it, yes, I know I look like a character out of EastEnders with the little chain, the top, the old school windbreaker. But that shouldn't distract you that the fact that Arsenal maybe have just dropped 2 points because, in my opinion, they definitely deserved 3. But this game was one of the more entertaining games of the season. Actually, to be fair for me, it was probably the game of the season. In terms of the top 6 clashes anyways, unless you lot can remind me of someone else, I'm pretty much in disbelief of any other game that's actually been anything remotely different. But you have to big up both sides. There has to be praise for both of them. But I think one deserved it a little bit more than the other. But the quality showed, and it came through in the end, why there's world-class players still sitting in that Liverpool squad that can make that difference. But regardless of that, Arsenal gave lots of effort. And you know what? They would definitely be walking away with their heads down low, wondering how the hell they didn't come out of that game with all 3. But there was good reasons for it. But before we even get into all of that, if you don't know, Man City are now sitting at the top of the table. So this is the exact result that they needed, right? And as much as all the rival fans are bickering with one another, like, oh, we're better than you, we're more in the title race than this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. The ones that are sitting pretty like always is the ones that are wearing light baby blue up in the northwest of England, in Manchester. So don't let the focus slip, right? Because they are on course to wanting to do a 5-peat. They got no Rodri and they're sitting at the top of the table, but it's not about them today, right? Because in that first half, Arsenal showed a side that even I doubted. The effort alone, the hunger, the drive. I think it caught Liverpool by the surprise. And don't get me wrong, a lot of you might not agree with how I'm probably interpreting the game, but you can't deny that they did come out with a bit of a bang, a bit of a shock. Getting the first goal as quick as they did. Saka, 50-50 fitness. If he's going to be fit, he looks like he's been playing for a long while and he couldn't wait to get out there. And he definitely had a point to prove, against Liverpool as well, like the best side in the league who haven't really conceded that many goals. If before the game, was it 2 or 3 goals potentially? And now Arsenal added to that. Some may say Arsenal, their defense was a makeshift back 4, but even if it was a makeshift back 4, they done well for what they could hold on to. But in the first half anyways, there's a couple players that really stood out to me, right? And the first one, they're not going to agree, right? It was probably actually Konate. Konate's covering has been outstanding, which I think he's upgraded or improved at least through the coming seasons, because I remember Martinelli used to roast him. Anytime Konate got out wide, it was his uncomfortable place to be or uncomfortable situation where he would get beat and then it would be called a bozo moment. So, and he really dealt with Martinelli quite a lot when Trent was going further forward. So that was big up on the covering on that part, because the way I was looking at the game anyways, if Konate didn't do the job that he did, Martinelli would have had so much more fun. And I thought he had a good game, Martinelli. A decent game of that hard working, driving, trying to make something happen, especially down the left-hand side, getting a few crosses in, dangerous ones for obviously Konate and Van Dijk to have a think about. But the other one for me, the standout player for the whole game even, bar Saka, because we can talk about Saka all day long. Declan Rice showed an absolutely balled out why he is a good player and a great player at that, because even I had my doubts. I never used to rate Declan Rice. I thought, yeah, you know what, he's an all right player, but he's not this amazing player that's going to go and win you the league. And then obviously last year happened with Arsenal and he showed his qualities. This year he's been under more scrutiny, and there's been obviously the Declan Rice, Moises Caicedo conversation. It's been spoken about, the comparison, but today he ran that midfield. He ran that midfield against 2 of the best centre mids in Europe right now in McAllister and Gravenberch. Gravenberch, I forgot he was even playing at times. Some of the splitting through balls or passes, forward passing by Declan Rice as well, will go underrated. And you know what? It probably won't even be spoken about enough because he's been criticised again of passing left and right. And this ain't my way of trying to glaze Arsenal. This is actually my honest thoughts on how I saw the game. And yes, and he was actually dropping back and actually trying to dictate the game a little bit and get it further forward. He helped out Marino quite a lot because Marino looked like he was off the pace at the first 20, 25 minutes, especially the slip where Salah could have even scored from that. His confidence was a little bit low, but, he tucked in more next to Marino, and Marino got his confidence gradually, slowly but surely. You could probably say the same with McAllister as well through the game, especially in the second half where he came more alive. But in the first half, they couldn't deal with Declan Rice. Partey as well from the right-hand side. Another name that probably wouldn't get spoken about. But in the first half, Diaz is being absolutely dangerous. And he did get down outside a couple times, don't get me wrong. Partey's not a right back. But when he kept trying to, drift inside, play a bit more of a dictating role next to the midfielders, sometimes even getting down the right, he was really making it difficult for Liverpool to get further forward because they kept winning the ball back. But for me, both sides showed their qualities, a lot of quality. And this is what I call a high caliber game and a really, really intense game as well. A lot of the narrative was going around, even from myself, that I don't see how Arsenal win this game. And you know what? They didn't win the game in the end because you don't win a draw. You don't win 2-2. You do draw. But I didn't see how they came out of it. But no one knew that they were going to get the injuries during the game that they did. And you know what? Slot as well. This is going to have to be praised towards Slot and how he changed things in the second half, which Arteta found difficult. But of course, down to the quality in the end, this is what Liverpool have got. And this is probably what Arsenal need more of. Right, because you need like another Saka, in my opinion. Someone else that can make a real difference. Trent with that ball over the top in the second half. Wow. But if we're going off the first half, Arsenal made life difficult for Liverpool, camping in their half a little bit more than they would like to. Núñez couldn't really get hold of the ball. Gabriel doing a solid job before he landed on him and injured him, obviously. Timber as well, great game. Again, another 50-51. Didn't know he was going to play. The gamble may have paid off, to be fair, in the end, because I thought he was quite solid. And Salah was nowhere to be seen. But Mont said something that stuck with me, and I remember. When Salah is not in the game, it's probably when he's most dangerous, because you know what? You forget about him, and then he pops up out of the shadows and makes the difference. And that's exactly what he did in the second half to obviously break some Arsenal hearts in the end. But in the first half, the hunger and desire, it just showed that Arsenal really wanted it. And you know what? Liverpool couldn't even get control of the game whatsoever. Possession and stats may say otherwise, but we have eyes, right? So yeah, it was an absolute fascinating game as well. I think Ben White had a little bit of troubles. It wasn't his greatest for me anyways, but they managed. So credit to Arsenal in the first half and pretty much shut a lot of the doubters up. And I'm pretty sure they can take a lot of confidence, especially through the first half anyways. But then, of course, the second half happens. And this is why Liverpool are probably highly rated or rated as highly as what other fans have made them to be, especially myself. Curtis Jones struggling to get into it, but all he had to do was some personnel changes for Slot, just to change little things and tactical tweak it. And they got more into the game gradually, slowly but surely. And then the Gabriel injury happens. And that's when things change. When Kivior came on, I feel like Arsenal went about 5 yards back. And it's like Liverpool could sniff that out. Slot could sniff that out as well. Change of Cody Gakpo, just a little bit more, assurance with in possession to keep the ball on the left-hand side, where Diaz is more of a go-getter straight into the box. So stuff like that will probably go unnoticed. But when you look towards both benches, I thought both sides pretty much suffered with the quality coming off the bench as well. So it's a bit fair in that regards, but no one thought that's, Timber would come off, then Gabriel will come off, especially managing about Saliba and Ødegaard. Same thing for Liverpool. They also have a couple injuries, Alisson as well being one of them. That's the main keeper. And Keller is definitely a good enough replacement to, fill in the shoes. He made a couple decent saves today. But Liverpool's resilience, again, it's like the counter press, the counter attacks as well, trying to get them on the breaks. But up until about the 67th minute, I know there's a bit more of a possession change. But until then, until they got that goal, I thought, you know what, Liverpool are not really in this. As much as they have got the possession, they're not doing much with it. And then before you know it, Salah pops up. And this is what he always does. And this is why when people say he's just a merchant, like a goal scoring merchant, I don't know what people see. His intelligent run. As soon as the ball from Trent was absolutely wicked, by the way, he knew exactly what to do. Just go in the inside, Kivior's beat. He didn't read the flight of the ball whatsoever. And Darwin Núñez sets him up as well. And obviously he scores and Bob's your uncle. But if I'm an Arsenal fan, thinking personally, like in that way, do you lot feel, I would feel like I would have dropped 2 points at that. That wouldn't have felt the greatest. But for you guys, let me know what you think as well. Is that 2 points dropped? Do you think you can take a lot of positives from this game? If you're a Liverpool fan, do you feel like, the efforts could have been a lot better from the team as well? Do you feel like you could have went on and got all three? What would you have changed that game? You know, a lot of fans were talking about dropping Szoboszlai for Curtis Jones. But sometimes maybe you can see why Szoboszlai's in this team, even though in attacking mid part, you would want more output from him, right? But when Szoboszlai is on the pitch, he does provide a good pressing game as well. And I can kind of see where maybe they were missing him, especially in the first half anyways. Maybe Curtis Jones might be, at the moment, a little bit better off the bench. But all praise and glory to Curtis Jones for obviously his recent form. You know, you're definitely missing Jota today. I would say that as well. You know, he's usually a nuisance, especially with all the injuries that Arsenal had. He's probably the perfect player for those situations. You know, and I'm looking around the team as well. Robertson had a hard time. Obviously, Tsimikas came on. But really and truly, all the praise probably has to go to Trent. You know, I think in the second half, he was defensively assured as well. And him and Konate definitely developed quite a good partnership and understanding to make sure that they didn't get hurt down outside. Because as soon as Saka came off I thought, weirdly enough, when Yeri and Jesus came on, there was a bit more pressure. But this is where you look at the bit of where the quality is at. Where's the goal going to come from? I actually thought I thought the goal that was ruled out because of a foul. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to call it a robbery because he's already called it. But this is where you have to question Anthony Taylor. I was one of the worst referees in the whole damn league. The whole damn league. I don't think he ref that game great whatsoever. You know, because you know what? I can understand if you feel like Trent got pushed, right, by Havertz. But he called it back for the header that Havertz won. And I was like, what are you on about? That's more than enough of a 50-50 to say that the game can run. He's just an awful ref. And I think he actually kind of near enough ruined a great game for me. But the intensity for both sides were great. You know, Liverpool's on form. You know, getting a point at the Emirates is not the worst. The narratives change, obviously. Liverpool being comfortable, you know, Arsenal playing 3DMs. How are they going to get into the game? This is why football is the way it is and why we love the sport so much, because you just never know how the game's going to go. It's as simple as that. I think Arteta can look towards a Newcastle away fixture with a lot of promise as well. You know, Newcastle's really out of form, looking for a win, searching for 3 points. But I think Arteta may have found some solutions, but them solutions might be at a cost, of course, because of the player quality. Saliba being back's huge. Timber, well, no, I think he came off due to fitness, of course. The same thing with Saka. So slowly but surely, you know, Arsenal might be finding some of their feet again, especially playing some good football, because that was good football from them. And the same thing with Liverpool. You know, they got a tough fixture run coming up, which we all know about. And Slot as well. I think he's getting known to be one of the managers. His in-game management is second to none. Honestly, he knows when to change things up, and he knows when situations are not going his way. It's like the pieces and puzzles that he fixes. I think, again, you got to give credit where credit's due. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game as well, because honestly, I think there's so much you can talk about. It's hard to push into about 15 minutes or less into a video. And I feel like you could do like 5 things you learned, you know, and again, I think it was just a great game. And I don't think both teams can be sour about it. But at the same time, you could probably think of some improvements where you could have won it and where things were probably unfair to say, you know. But let me know, smash the like, subscribe. Let me know who your standout player was as well and why. Other than Declan Rice and Saka, is there any players that I've missed? I would like to know. But anyways, in a bit, and make sure you like and subscribe, as I've already said.